Two claims are spreading through the XRP community right now that need a direct, honest response. First, that XRP has already secretly replaced SWIFT. Second, that Ripple is about to acquire Circle. Today we are going to run both claims against the verified facts, give you the honest picture, and then cover the confirmed developments this week that are genuinely more significant than either rumor. Because the real story building around XRP right now does not need exaggeration. It stands completely on its own. This is XRP verified. Let us get into it. Let us start with the SWIFT replacement claim because it keeps circulating and it deserves a clear answer. SWIFT still operates. It still processes between $150 and $162 trillion in cross-border payment messaging annually. It still connects 11,000 financial institutions across 200 countries. There is no public documentation from any government, any central bank, or any regulatory body showing that XRP or Ripple has officially replaced SWIFT as the global messaging standard. What is documented is something different and arguably more important. In 2015, Ripple was selected to the steering committee of the Federal Reserve's Faster Payments Task Force, sitting alongside major banks and payment providers. In 2017, the Fed's final task force report specifically recognized Ripple's cross-border solution as enabling faster settlement than the typical 2 to 4 day cycle. That is an official government document positively evaluating Ripple's technology. That is not the same as replacing SWIFT, but it means Ripple has had a documented seat at the table inside US financial infrastructure planning for a decade. The path from that evaluation to full institutional deployment runs directly through the OCC Bank charter application that Ripple currently has pending, and that Elizabeth Warren is spending enormous political capital trying to stop. She is not fighting something irrelevant. She is fighting the specific regulatory approval that would give Ripple direct access to Federal Reserve payment rails. Now let us address the Ripple acquiring Circle rumor, because the math simply does not support it. Circle's current valuation puts an acquisition price somewhere between $20 and $30 billion. Ripple does not have that capital accessible. Approximately 32 billion XRP tokens are locked in escrow. Their accessible liquidity is approximately 5 billion. Raising 25 billion would require selling an enormous portion of escrow allocation, which would apply significant downward pressure on XRP price, the exact opposite of what Ripple is trying to achieve. The alternative is issuing private company shares to Circle, which would give Circle significant ownership of Ripple itself. Neither path makes financial sense. And consider the opportunity cost. For $25 billion, Ripple could acquire multiple companies like Hidden Road and US Treasury, each of which directly expands their payment infrastructure, adds institutional relationships, and compounds XRP utility. Circle is a stablecoin issuer, a useful business, but not the highest value acquisition for a company building global payment rails. The rumor does not survive basic financial analysis. Now let us talk about what is actually confirmed and significant this week, starting with SoFi. SoFi just became the first nationally chartered U.S. bank to support XRP deposits. 13 million banking customers can now buy, sell, and hold XRP inside the same application they use for their salary, savings, and investments. This is the moment the XRP community has been describing for years, and it just happened at a nationally chartered bank. Not a crypto exchange, not a neobank startup. A federally chartered U.S. bank with 13 million customers integrated XRP into its core product. When SoFi becomes 10 banks, and then 100 banks, and then 1,000, the capital flowing into XRP from that retail banking channel alone becomes a structural demand driver that is completely separate from institutional adoption. Italy's Banca Generali just became the first Italian bank approved under MiCA, the European Union's most comprehensive crypto regulation framework, to offer crypto custody and transfers. Europe's banking system is not watching from the sidelines anymore. It is integrating. And the custody infrastructure, stablecoin rails, and cross-border settlement architecture being built across European institutions all point toward XRP and RLUSD as primary infrastructure layers. The ETF flow data this week continues confirming the institutional capital rotation story. Bitcoin ETFs lost $105 million. Ethereum ETFs lost $33 million. Now 2 consecutive weeks of outflows for the second largest cryptocurrency by market cap. XRP ETFs added $1.55 million in net inflows. Over the past 2 weeks, more than $2.2 billion has exited Bitcoin ETF products alone. The head of research at BRN described the pattern directly. Capital is rotating toward newer narratives and away from crowded large-cap exposure. XRP is one of the 3 assets capturing that rotation. Now let us zoom out to the macro picture, because the US Treasury Secretary made a statement this week that every institutional investor heard clearly. Scott Bessent stood in front of the cameras and said, "No central bank digital currency, stablecoin legislation passed, Clarity Act moving through Congress with bipartisan support, and his direct message to the House and Senate was, get clarity done." He framed it in terms that remove any ambiguity. The problems associated with crypto exist because the space operates offshore without regulation. Bring it onshore. Build proper frameworks. The problems disappear. That is not a crypto advocate speaking. That is the person managing the finances of the United States government making the case for regulated digital asset adoption as a national economic priority. Ripple's chief legal officer, Stuart Alderoty, followed that with a description of Ripple's current positioning that captures exactly where the company sits in 2026. He used 2 words: one-stop shop. Large and medium-sized enterprises that want to adopt crypto for payments, custody, tokenization, liquidity, or treasury management can now come to a single provider and get all of it. The significance is in what Ripple Treasury represents: $13 trillion in annual payment movement through their Treasury acquisition, none of which currently flows through crypto or stablecoin rails. That $13 trillion is sitting in Ripple's own ecosystem, waiting for Clarity Act passage to flip the switch. When it does, the volume that begins flowing through XRP ledger infrastructure from that single product line alone changes the supply-demand equation for XRP in ways that current price levels do not remotely reflect. The AI agent economy connection is also worth understanding, because $15 trillion in B2B agent commerce is projected to flow across the XRP ledger over the next several years, according to Gartner and McKinsey data. AI agents today can find the best option for a transaction. What they cannot do yet is execute the payment. The infrastructure being built to solve that problem requires payment rails that are fast, cheap, and programmable. The XRP ledger, with its built-in decentralized exchange, lending protocol, and sub-5-second settlement, is the natural infrastructure for AI agent payment execution at scale. This is not a speculative narrative. It is an engineering reality that multiple projects are actively building toward right now, and XRP can now be sent directly through WhatsApp. A remittance service with national contracts across major telecom providers has integrated XRP and RLUSD into WhatsApp payments, enabling users to send cross-border remittances with 2 clicks without leaving the messaging application. 2 billion active WhatsApp users. Live on XRP mainnet. National telecom partnerships in place. Consumer adoption at that scale creates a demand surface for XRP that is completely separate from institutional flows. Finally, the DTCC announcing a partnership with the Stellar Foundation confirms something important that benefits the entire ecosystem. The DTCC tokenization platform is genuinely multi-chain. It works with XRP Ledger through Ripple Prime, with Canton, with Chainlink, and now with Stellar. This is not competition between blockchain networks. This is institutional confirmation that the largest clearing organization in the world is building interoperable infrastructure across multiple ledgers, and that July to October represents the most significant deployment window in the history of blockchain-based institutional finance. Let me bring everything together clearly. The SWIFT replacement claim is not documented, but Ripple's decade-long presence inside U.S. financial infrastructure planning is. The Circle acquisition rumor fails basic financial analysis. SoFi just opened XRP to 13 million U.S. banking customers as the first nationally chartered bank to do so. Italy's first MICA bank is integrating crypto infrastructure. ETF capital is rotating into XRP, while Bitcoin and Ethereum bleed. The US Treasury Secretary is publicly pushing Congress to pass Clarity Act immediately. Ripple Treasury has $13 trillion in payment flow ready to migrate onto XRP rails. And the DTCC's July to October launch window is multi-chain and confirmed. The retail investors are watching price charts. The institutions are watching infrastructure. Stay informed, stay patient, stay positioned. If this video gave you real value today, subscribe to XRP Verified. I cover these developments every single day, so you always know what is happening before the rest of the market figures it out. I will see you in the next one.